What if I told you the most productive hour of your fishing day is the one you spend loading your gear back into the truck? It sounds crazy, I know. We're all taught to worship the sunrise and the sunset, the so-called golden hours. But today, we're talking about a different time, a more powerful time. I call it the Packers hour, that magic window right after the sun is gone, when the lake goes quiet and the bite goes insane. Stick around, because I'm going to show you why you've been missing out on some of the best fishing of your life by following the crowd home. Think the classic sunset bite is king? Let me know in the comments, but I have a feeling you might just change your mind by the end of this video. For generations, the rule has been simple: fish at dawn and dusk. Your grandpa told you, my grandpa told me, and his grandpa probably told him. It's ingrained in us, and it's not wrong, but it's incomplete. We see the sun start to dip, and that's our cue. We get that last flurry of activity as the light changes, and then what happens? The instinct kicks in. It's getting dark. Time to head for the ramp, beat the traffic, get home for dinner. You hear the hum of trolling motors switching off, the clang of gear being stored away. It's a mass exodus, driven by habit and a belief that the best is over. But that belief, that habit of packing up with everyone else, is exactly what's costing you fish. Picture this familiar scene. It's a beautiful evening on the lake. You've been casting for hours. The sun has just disappeared below the tree line, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. For the last 30 minutes, boats have been firing up their main engines and heading in. The water, which was once choppy with wakes and crisscrossing lines, begins to settle. A profound quiet starts to descend. This is the moment most anglers see as the end, the closing credits of a long day. But for us, this is the opening scene. This is where the real story begins. That silence isn't a sign that the action is over. It's the dinner bell ringing, and you're about to have the whole restaurant to yourself. The first thing that changes is the pressure, and I don't just mean barometric. I'm talking about fishing pressure. For the last 10 hours, that big bass has been hiding under a dock, listening to the whir of a dozen different trolling motors, dodging crankbaits, and seeing the shadow of boats pass over her head. She's been on high alert. But now? Silence. The constant hum is gone. The shadows are gone. The water is calm. This sudden absence of human activity is a massive trigger. It signals safety. It tells that wary, educated fish that the coast is clear, and it's finally time to move out from cover and hunt. You are no longer one of 20 anglers. You are the only game in town. Now let's talk about what the fish are actually doing. While we see the end of daylight, they see the beginning of their prime hunting opportunity. The transition from twilight to true darkness is when their biggest predatory advantages kick in. Prey fish, like bluegill and shad, rely heavily on their eyesight to spot danger. As the last bit of ambient light vanishes, their world becomes a confusing, dangerous place. They get nervous. They school up tighter, but they're disoriented. For a largemouth bass, a walleye, or a big trout, this is the equivalent of the lights going out in a chicken coop. It's the moment the playing field tilts completely in their favor. Think about a predator's senses. A bass doesn't just hunt with its eyes. Its most powerful weapon is its lateral line, an incredibly sensitive organ that detects movement and vibration in the water. In the pitch black, that sense is magnified tenfold. While a baitfish is struggling to see, a bass can feel the frantic flutter of its tail from 20 feet away. It doesn't need to see your lure perfectly, it just needs to feel its presence. This is why the hour after sunset is so deadly. You're no longer trying to trick a fish's eyes. You're appealing directly to its most primal, hardwired hunting instinct. There's a scientific reason for this feeding window, too. As the air cools rapidly after sunset, the surface layer of the water begins to cool as well. This can cause a slight mixing of water layers and can trigger baitfish to move. More importantly, this is often when major insect hatches occur. Mayflies, caddisflies, you name it. They emerge in the calm, cool air of the evening. What do insects attract? Small fish. And what do small, active fish attract? Big, hungry fish. You're not just fishing in the dark. You're positioning yourself in the middle of a brand new food chain that just came to life while everyone else was driving home. So how do we adapt our tactics for this Packers hour? First, slow everything down. Your retrieve should be 50% slower than your daytime retrieve. Fish are not aggressively chasing things down over long distances. They are setting up ambushes. They're waiting for an easy meal to come to them. A slow-rolled spinnerbait, a Texas-rigged worm dragged painstakingly along the bottom, or a jig that you let sit for 5, even 10 seconds between hops. Patience is no longer a virtue, it's a requirement. You have to give them time to find and commit to your bait in the low visibility. Let's talk about lure selection. This is where you put away the flashy, highly visual baits you are using in the sun. Think in terms of silhouette and vibration. A black jitterbug, a dark-colored buzzbait, or a black and blue jig are killers in this situation. Why black? Because it creates the sharpest, most defined silhouette against the slightly lighter night sky as a fish looks up from below. You're not trying to show them a color, you're trying to present a profile. A big, bulky profile that displaces a lot of water is key. You want that thump, thump, thump that a big bass can feel in its bones. This is also prime time for topwater, and I mean the loud, obnoxious stuff. A whopper plopper, a big walking bait with loud rattles, a plopping popper. The reason topwater excels here is twofold. First, it exploits that silhouette advantage we just talked about. Second, and more importantly, it makes a commotion on a now silent surface. On a lake that has gone dead quiet, the sound of your lure sputtering along the top is like a dinner bell. It's the only sound out there. A fish can lock onto it from a surprising distance. The strikes are rarely subtle. They are explosive, heart-stopping attacks. You also need to change where you're fishing. During the day, fish might be holding on deep structure to escape the sun and pressure. But in this magic hour, they move. They push up shallow. They'll patrol the same weed edges, laydowns, and docks where you couldn't buy a bite at 2 in the afternoon. They are using the darkness as cover. Focus your casts on water that is 6 feet deep or less. Think about the routes baitfish would use to move from their deeper daytime haunts to their shallow nighttime feeding grounds. You are essentially setting up an ambush along a fish highway. I remember one evening on a small reservoir. It was a tough bite all day. As the sun went down, my buddy started packing up. He said, "Well, that's a wrap, 0 bites." I told him to just wait. I tied on a big black buzzbait and cast it right towards the bank he had just been fishing. The water was glass. The clack, clack, clack of the blade was the only sound. About halfway back to the boat, the water just erupted. It sounded like someone dropped a cinder block from a tree. After a short fight, a 5-pound bass was in the boat. My buddy just stood there, with his rods already put away, completely stunned. This strategy isn't just for bass. Walleye are notorious low-light feeders, and this post-sunset period is when the biggest, wariest fish move up onto shallow points and rock piles to feed. Trolling a shallow-running crankbait in just 10 feet of water over a spot that's packed with boats during the day can be absolutely lethal. Same for big brown trout in rivers. They'll move out from under deep ledges and log jams to hunt crayfish and sculpins in the shallows under the cover of total darkness. The principle is universal. The top predators use darkness as their ultimate weapon. Of course, there's a mental hurdle to overcome. It's easy to pack it in. Your body is tired, you're thinking about home. The quiet can feel final. You have to fight that urge. You have to reframe your thinking. When you see those boats leaving, don't think, "The bite is over." Think, "The bite is about to begin." It requires a conscious shift in mindset, from being a daytime angler to being a transitional predator yourself. You have to embrace the quiet and trust that the fish are making the same transition you are. Safety is obviously a factor here. You're not going to stay out if there's a storm rolling in, but on a calm, clear night, it's perfectly safe if you're prepared. Have a good headlamp. Know your lake and avoid areas with hidden stumps or rock piles. Keep your boat organized so you're not tripping over things in the dark. Most importantly, let someone know your plan. A little bit of preparation removes all the anxiety and allows you to focus purely on the fishing, which is often more peaceful and rewarding than at any other time of day. Another key is sound. In the daytime, we're very visual. We're looking for birds, watching our line, scanning for surface activity. At night, you have to switch to your ears. Listen for the subtle slurp of a fish feeding in the shallows. Listen for the sound of baitfish scattering on the surface. That quiet lake is now talking to you, but it's speaking a different language. Tuning into those sounds can tell you exactly where to cast. I've located huge schools of feeding fish just by shutting everything off and listening for a few minutes. The myth we're busting here is not that the golden hour is bad. It's often very good. The myth is that it's the only prime time. People treat it as the grand finale, when in reality, it's just the opening act. The main event starts when the crowds go home. You're trading that last 30 minutes of frantic, competitive fishing for a solid hour or two of calm, strategic, and often much more productive angling. It's a trade I will happily make every single time I'm on the water. Consider the moon phase as well. On a bright, full moon night, fish can be more active throughout the night because they have some ambient light to hunt by. On these nights, the bite might be more consistent, but on a new moon, when it is absolutely pitch black, that initial feeding window right after sunset can be incredibly intense and concentrated. The fish seem to know they have a limited time to feed effectively before it becomes truly difficult, so they feed with extreme aggression in that first hour of darkness. Don't be afraid to upsize your line and your lure. In the dark, fish are less likely to be spooked by heavy line. Using 15 or 20-pound test fluorocarbon or even 50-pound braid gives you a huge advantage when a big fish slams your lure next to a dock piling or a laydown. You can be more aggressive with your hook sets and control the fish better. They're relying on vibration, not sight, so line visibility is a non-issue. This is your chance to use the heavy gear and go for a true giant without worrying about spooking them. This approach is also about efficiency. Think about a typical weekend. The lakes are packed. You spend half your time just trying to find a spot that isn't occupied. By staying late, you get your pick of the absolute best spots on the entire lake. That main lake point that had 5 boats on it all day? It's all yours now. The community holes that get hammered from sunup to sundown? They just got a chance to rest and reload with fish that are now ready to eat. You're fishing rested, unpressured water, which is a rare luxury on public lakes. I challenge you to try this just once. The next time you're out and you feel that urge to pack it in with everyone else, just stop. Sit down for 15 minutes, have a drink of water, watch the last boat disappear around the point. Then, pick up your rod, tie on a big dark topwater or a slow-moving jig, and make a cast into that quiet darkness. Listen, feel your line, be patient. I can almost guarantee that the experience, and very likely the results, will fundamentally change the way you think about a full day of fishing. Ultimately, fishing is about solving a puzzle, and for years, most of us have been ignoring a huge piece of that puzzle because we assumed it didn't fit. This Packer's Hour is that missing piece. It's the moment when the conditions, the fish's biology, and the absence of human interference all align perfectly. It's not just about catching more fish. It's about understanding the rhythm of the lake on a deeper level. It's about being the one person who stays to listen when everyone else has stopped talking. And that is where you find the fish that no one else does. So, let's bring it all together. The big takeaway here is that while the world is packing up, the underwater world is just waking up. The mass exodus of anglers relieves all the pressure, signaling to wary fish that it's safe to come out and play. That transition from twilight to true dark gives predators a massive sensory advantage, turning the tables on their prey. And the environmental shifts, the cooling water, the insect hatches, create a brand new, concentrated feeding opportunity. The aha moment is realizing the best bite isn't just about low light. It's about the combination of low light, zero pressure, and biological triggers that happens in that specific window after the sun is long gone. This simple shift in timing could completely change your results, especially on tough, pressured bodies of water. Thank you so much for watching and for being willing to challenge some old-school thinking with me. If this gave you a new perspective, do me a favor and hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more tips that go against the grain. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest fish you've ever caught after everyone else went home? Share your story in the comments below.